I got my 1 year chip last night from Codependents Anonymous. It's really hard to believe. It's actually very surreal. And so I just wanted to share with you my share that I shared yesterday when I got this chip. Um, I've definitely was kind of born into a codependent generational like cycle. And I don't come from a family. Like I like have this like orphan identity that has like really haunted me my whole life. And so like I've always been in this almost like unconscious like pursuit of a family, like this like little, the ugly duckling, like where's my family? And so like time and time again, kind of the patterns in my life have always been about, finding that family or having people say to me, I am your family. And then kind of treating me exactly how my bio family treated me. Um, and so for me, my entire life, I remember being like just a little kid and being asked by an adult, like, what's your biggest fear? And people are like, spiders and snakes and heights. And I literally was like, this like 6-year-old emo ass kid that was like, I'm afraid to die alone. And to be honest, that just has been true my whole life is like my fear to die alone. Um, I got married really, really young. I was like in high school when I met my ex-husband. I was in the system. I was living in under a guardianship, and it was very, very abusive and neglectful. And my ex-husband's family took me in, and I literally was staying with them, finishing up high school. He and I got married, and it was like my ticket out. And I share all this because coming from where I came from, I would not have given that up for anything. I don't care that I was not happy in the marriage. I had horrible self worth, self esteem. Just things were not good. I kept trying to end my life and living through addictions and all of these things. At least I had a family, right? Um, 2 years ago or 3 years ago or however many years ago now, um, I, yeah, I came out of the closet, and I did that by having an affair. And I say that because I would never have left my husband, I think, for myself. Because again, I was so petrified of being alone. To me, being alone meant death. It really did. It really did mean that to me. Like I really felt my soul would practically end. Like I would perish if I were alone. I didn't even know what that meant. And so yeah, I got into a relationship with this person, and I thought that I would be with that person again for the rest of my life, that I just went from that relationship to this new relationship. And yeah, when the woman that you left your husband for leaves you, when you walk away from the relationship with the woman that you left your marriage for, your family for, I could have never seen that coming. I tried so hard to desperately tried so hard to not end up alone, that I tried so hard I was I wanted a family so bad, and I wanted to be loved so badly by somebody that I felt saw me, in a relationship where I saw myself for the first time, where I felt seen for the first time, where I felt free, where I felt like, oh my god, my whole life makes sense now. And I allowed myself to be treated in really dehumanizing ways. I allowed a lot. A, there was a lot of mistreatment. And so ultimately, I ended up almost getting kicked out of grad school because my teachers thought that I was on drugs when really I was in a codependent abusive relationship. I gave up my dog for this person. He's here though. I got him back. Fast asleep. And I ended up living in my car because of this relationship. I didn't recognize myself. I lost all bio, family, chosen family, friends. I lost everything. Um, and so one day I got a text from this person that was just a normal text from fights that would happen all the time, you know, that didn't in the past typically result in me going no contact. But this time, you know, when I heard never talk to me again, I thought, okay. I just thought, okay. And I went no contact that moment. I actually literally like went to my desk and I got a sticky notepad and I wrote, "You are safe, you are free." And I literally padded these all over my apartment, my mirrors, doors, ceilings, my TV screen, my phone background screen, my door. So I couldn't look anywhere and not be reminded that I could be safe in my own body. Like that was such a foreign concept to me. Was completely wrapped up in other people. Again, this is the first time I'd been alone in my entire adult life, really, even as a child. And despite how desperately I tried to surround myself with people, I only ever knew what it meant to be lonely and to feel alone. It didn't matter that I had a husband or in laws that adored me. You know, I felt so alone inside, so unlovable, so unworthy of family. Um, about 2 days after I went no contact from this person, of course, when you're in an abusive, toxic relationship, you go through these cycles of like breaking up and going back together. I had left about 6 times or five or six times already. And so everybody in my life was tired of that cycle. You know, you get to a point where nobody believes you. Okay, sure, like, okay, you broke up again. And I've actually thought very, very hard about this for a long time over the last year of like what that process of like being isolated from my people, my community, being like alienated in this way and just like you're on your own island. I mean, that's a tactic of it's an outcome really of these types of relationships. And for so long I was like, okay, like how can I support loved ones of people going through this so that, you know, they don't fall away. And that was like my mission. I was just thinking about it in my head for so long, like what does it take? And I've over the last year been supporting people myself going through similar things. And what I realized was it is the nature of these types of relationships because you are the only person standing alone that can ultimately make that decision for you and for your life. So what I realized is that I would have never made that decision to leave this person so long as I had people around me, you know, making me feel safe or that I wasn't alone or, oh, I can keep trying. You know, it's almost like we are contracted, you know, our soul contracts for these various like relationships throughout life. What is the lesson to be learned here? What is the karma to be cleared here? What, you know, why am I meeting this person again in this lifetime? And this person and I we have incarnated in many, many lifetimes together. I have seen them all. Oh, I shouldn't say that, but I've seen quite a few. And over the last year, I've healed a lot of those things. And, you know, our contract here in this lifetime was self love. It was one of self love and in choosing myself that day where I got that text and I said, okay, and in going no contact. And then 2 days later, going into the rooms of Codependents Anonymous, which I had no idea even existed until my friend called me and I was a complete disaster. And she was like, have you heard about Codependents Anonymous? And I was like, no. And I literally like Googled it this on the phone with her. And I was like, oh my God, the LGBT Center has one on Tuesday nights. And it was Tuesday. And I literally went that night. But it wasn't until that moment that I had ever made like a truly, it was the most terrifying choice of my life. It wasn't even leaving my husband or figuring out what to do when I was being like trafficked in Utah. It wasn't horrific deaths that I've experienced and other things. It was that moment in time in my life where I had lost everything, and I mean parts of my soul, when there was no one left coming for me. And I mean, I had been victimized. Yes, we have all been victimized, right? A lot of us have experienced that, especially as children. But that victim archetype like has to be shed. Like for me, it was realizing, and this did not come in that moment. This did not come in that moment. This came later. This came in the healing. But that moment where you're like, no one's coming for me. No one can do this but me. What I shared when I got my 1-year chip was that the most powerful tool that we have, it's not love. It's choice. Because it is a choice to love. It is a choice to be in recovery. It is a choice to make every day, even when we mess up, when we make mistakes, when we go back again and again. It is a choice to choose yourself, right? It is a choice to heal. It is a choice to choose healing over temporary comfort. That was huge for me at the beginning. Oh my God, I was on my knees. I was on my knees. I can't even tell you. I thought I was physically dying leaving this relationship. I was Googling broken heart syndrome. I was physically felt myself shriveling, my mind falling apart, right? And that is the nature of this. You're like letting go of this soul level, like, cord, really, this like energetic, karmic relationship that a lot of us experience, in these lifetimes. And that is excruciating. I've been through horrific trauma in my life, and I swear to God, choosing to leave that relationship was, I did not think a year would come, because I truly did not feel like I could get through 1 second. I was on my knees praying like I hadn't since I was a little child. I was like raised Hispanic Catholic, like Bostonian, like it brought me back to my knees. I was praying to God. I was literally like, I don't know who's listening. Like, I was like, oh my God, there's 4 cameras looking at me right now because this is pathetic. But I literally would collapse. Like I would collapse. I remember one time, like I called my friend from the group home. I wanted to end my life and I wanted to say goodbye to her. And I knew she wouldn't answer because I'm not able to contact her anymore. And I remember I went on a walk and I just kept calling and calling and calling, even though I knew she wouldn't answer. But like, I didn't want to do anything until I talked to her. And I live across from school, and I remember hanging up and saying, God, please help me. I don't know who I am. I don't feel like I have anything. I don't feel like I'm worthy of being alive or existing, or I'm just so heartbroken. I was so heartbroken for my life. And I turn literally just through the chain link fence, and there's an owl in the middle of this concrete schoolyard, an owl. And it's just staring at me, and I felt my whole body just like become still. Her name is Odessa, the owl. And that was my moment of keep going. keep going. And I swear I go on a night walk every night, and I go to that same exact spot every night just to look for her. And she's up in that tree I saw her fly to, but I've never seen her again. Healing has not been what I thought it would be. Really, at the beginning, it is all about getting through the day and choosing yourself in all of the ways. And like, truly, like, if you have to white knuckle it, do it. It's about meeting yourself with compassion, right? That self-compassionate piece is what we lose. So it's not about, oh, you know, if you reach out or if you check their social media or reread their texts or look at pictures or whatever these things are. Like, when I speak to, again, people in Coda, anybody going through breakups, like, these are the things that we get caught up in, right? Because we're desperately trying to rewrite the ending. We're desperately trying to feel better, right? And feeling better is self-compassionate because we feel so bad. So rather than telling ourselves like, okay, we're completely cut off, and then if I check their social or whatever it is, I have failed and I'm still stuck in this toxic cycle. Like, what I learned and like what I, help people have helped people with since is like meeting yourself in that horrific place with more self-compassion. And so, okay, give yourself permission 5 times a day, let's say, to look at old texts or whatever it is that like you do to self-soothe. And then after that, you're out of times for the day and you can start again tomorrow. And like what happens slowly over time is like, it's not about the outcome. It's not about like what you checked or didn't check or whatever. It's about like, that's how you start like talking to yourself. And you start giving yourself more grace and more room that certainly that relationship didn't give you, and certainly you likely didn't have before that. I think learning self-compassion was a huge part of it in the beginning. And just complete and total surrender. You want to say hi? He likes this story. In the year that I've left that relationship, I have gone through so much deep karmic healing that I never would have gone on if I hadn't been in that relationship. At the end of the day, I think, I don't know, to say I'm grateful feels performative. But I do know that I do not regret it. I do not regret loving any of the people that I have in my life. They can keep that love. It is all for them. I have so much more to give. I have so much more to give myself and to give the world. And, that quote is coming to me, like, live all of life, the beauty and the terror. Rilke. No feeling is final. And that's really what it's been like. Are you proud of me? But yeah, in the last year, I got my dog back. I know that was scary. I got my own apartment. I have a job. I've completely stabilized mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I have people run into me now that literally don't recognize me. Even at Coda, because it's been a few months since I had been going regularly because the winter was so, I was fully hibernating and just did not have the energy. People just did not recognize me because they remembered me from when I first started coming and I got my 24-hour chips. And I remember after at fellowship, like someone came up to me and was like, I haven't been here in like almost a year, but I was here when you first got here and I did not think it was you. And then I have people who are like, whatever you're on, like that's what I need to be on. And it is just coming back down to choice. And it's the worst thing to fucking say to a codependent or to anyone, but especially codependents. Like, we don't like choice. We hate choice. We can barely decide what to watch on Netflix, what we want for dinner. We're like here handing the choice and our autonomy over to people because it's easier. And I have examples of that in my life that are fucking horrific. Give yourself the chance. Bet on yourself. I am telling you, and this is what I say to like people that I'm supporting right now, like going through this, like people don't want that we desperately self-sabotage, right? We desperately like believe that we can't do something, that we're victims to it. Like, oh, I can't stop drinking. I can't stop going back to this person. I can't, quit my job. I can't do this. Like, and there's all of these reasons, right? Sure, all of the reasons are valid, but at the end of the day, you actually can. You can leave that relationship. It's just fucking hard and it sucks and it's gonna rip your soul out and it's petrifying because you've lost everything and you literally don't even know who you are anymore. You don't know who you are without your addiction, without whatever it is. Okay, if it was easy, I don't even think life would exist, because what you learn from those moments, what you learn in that void of yourself, is life itself. What you find in the unknown is the most love and life and meaning and acceptance and surrender that you have never before experienced or even thought was fathomable, because it exists in the unknown. And you can't get there literally without leaping into it. There is no safety net. There is no guarantee. And we are going to keep, wanting those bowling ball bumpers to come up before we do it, or see that net, or make sure that there's people there to catch us, or resources there. Nothing is there until you do take that leap. And that is where you find yourself and you find the answers. And genuinely, that is literally why we are all here. And we are all collectively facing the same leap into the unknown. And I genuinely believe that if every single human being on this planet took that actual leap, I mean, that is the new earth, right? That is a earth, a world of unconditional love and justice, harmony. Because in that place, it doesn't matter what kinds of differences or conflicts or all of these other things that exist, right? Because those things are important too and necessary. But it is that deep sense of knowing ourselves and understanding like that we are all connected, right? We're all one. It's that oneness. That it's like, I am just a reflection of you, whoever's listening to this. And like, whoever's listening to this, you're just a reflection of me. Like, like, it's trippy. And it's true. And like, that's all we are in this like quantum field. And that does mean that if it's possible for me, it is 100% possible for you. And that's why it's so funny to me when people like ask this question of like, do you think people can change? Like, do you think people can change? Oh my gosh, that's such a divisive thing, right? That's such a divisive question. And people always have an answer with such conviction of like, oh, no, people don't change. Like, my mom's been this way, or my husband's been this way, or like my friends, or like, look at our political leaders, or whatever it is. But I ask, do you believe that you can change? Do you believe that you can change? I mean, that's a yes or no. If you do believe that, if you do believe that you can change your beliefs, the way you think about yourself, the way you feel about yourself and the world around you, the things that you like or don't like, or however the ways in which we evolve through life experience, if you give yourself the benefit of the doubt that you can change, that you have the capacity to change, then inherently that means it is possible for anybody. And for me, it's the belief and the capacity for the world to change, for people to change, for people that I have loved, that have failed me greatly, that I believe may choose not to change, but I do believe that it is possible. And the way that we make this possible for the entire world and this new earth that is coming, the world that we want for our children, is by changing ourselves. Because when we create that capacity within ourselves, when we take that leap into the unknown, when we choose ourselves, our highest selves, when we choose the highest potential outcome for any given situation, that releases an energetic impact into the world. And again, it's beyond what we can see, but it is felt and it is known. And yeah, that's what I've been experiencing over the last year. I am so proud of this moment. I was chosen by my line, my ancestors, to be the one that clears all of our karma. That's a whole other video. It's a lot of videos, but this is one of those moments. This is one of those moments, and I know they're like all clapping right now. They're like, "Oh, thank you. I'm so proud of you." And I'm proud of myself. And I've gotten at the end of every coda meeting, we go around and we say, each of us say an affirmation, and there's like a little sheet that has them where you could say your own. And I said something that I've never said out loud. I have a family. Yeah, stay mad.